Hello everyone, this is Food is a Conversation Alumni Edition. Today with edition session 37. So what are these conversations about? We are introducing our ecosystem members who graduated from any of the educational programs organized by the Future Food Institute. Let it be the Food Innovation Master Program I myself graduated from in 2018, or the Food and Climate Shaper Bootcamps, which we organized together with the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. So as you heard, this is already the 37th session. So all of the previous ones you can either find on our IGTV or on our YouTube channel. And you will learn more about who are actually in our alumni network, how did they end up joining any of the educational programs, what is their local food system and the challenges what they face, and what exactly are they doing now after they graduated. Today I just checked the file and we have approximately, well, not approximately, it's 150 plus people on my list who I will need to interview. So we have enough content for the upcoming months, years. Plus, the next digital bootcamp is actually starting on the 20th of November. So I will have a new batch of people to feature here over the next year, so 2021 it is, full with conversations. We actually started this year in April, and with a little break in July, we introduced already a lot of people from all over the globe. This being said, we also have these sessions twice a week. So today is Tuesday, it's 6:30 p.m. Central European time, and the other sessions are always on Thursdays in the morning. Because we obviously have a very global audience, and not only audience, and so they are dialing in from India, from the US, like today, and from different continents as well, because continents and locations are not a barrier anymore. Hi, Gesina.
Hi, Julia.
How are you?
I'm okay. Today is a special day where I am. But I'm happy to be here and talk to you.
I am super happy to have you here as well. And actually, I kind of finished everything. The rest I can say later. So please introduce yourself. Tell us where you are and why exactly is that such an important day.
Yeah, happy to. So hi, everyone. My name is Gesina, and while I'm originally from Germany, I think where you are right now, Julia, are you?
Exactly.
I'm in the United States, in California, and specifically in Los Altos. That's in Silicon Valley, so not too far from San Francisco. And you probably all know that there's an election today. So today is election day, and there's been so many emotions. And yeah, we're just all anxiously waiting for the results. And we kind of know it's not going to be decided today. So this is the start of a few more stressful weeks to know how this country is going to turn out.
Exactly. Well, fingers crossed. And I think the whole world is kind of watching, and we really hope for a change. But today, on this conversation, let's talk about different changes, changes in our food system. And what do you, so the first question I always start with, how did you end up on the digital bootcamp in July? So what is the story and the connection to future food?
Yeah, I think I have a special connection, and it is related to somebody who works at the Future Food Institute. So I moved to the US about 5 years ago and really realized that there was a big change in how I treated food and valued food compared to how it's seen in America. You know, there's a lot more fast food, there's a lot more going out and eating, which is enjoyable. There's a lot more big packages compared to Germany. So there was just something that made me very curious about food systems. And I went to a Silicon Valley tech event, and people knew that I wanted to get into food, and they said, this person, you need to talk to Chiara, Chiara Ticini. She's in food and she knows everything. And she actually started the American version of the Future Food Institute, and is still here in San Francisco, and became a friend. So I heard about the Food and Climate Shaper Bootcamp through her and was super excited to that way also join a little bit the organization.
Yeah, I am super happy that we could have you on board, and now having you also as local host for the next session. What I just mentioned also before we'll start. Actually, this month we have less than 3 weeks before the kickoff. But before you actually entered this boot camp, you already had some pretty interesting experiences in the food system, and also I would like to hear about those, and also the challenges what you had to face in the food supply chain.
Yeah. For the past 3 years, I worked with Fairtrade USA. So that's the largest Fairtrade certifier for Fairtrade products in the United States. It's a little seal. In Germany, you might also see it on products like coffee or chocolate. And I was actually working on chocolate specifically, working with big partners, big chocolate manufacturers and small manufacturers to help them and guide them towards a more sustainable and ethical source of their cacao and their sugar. And the challenging part was really understanding and learning about cocoa supply chains, or in general, all ingredient supply chains that are very complex, where prices are very low and that are often defined by smallholder farmers living in extreme poverty. So when I now open any bar, any chocolate, when I drink a coffee, when I drink tea, I always make that connection directly back to the farmer. And it means so much more for me to buy something that is ethically sourced, that is sustainably sourced, because I know with these decisions, I really have an impact on people living so far away. So through my work, I was able to travel to countries like Cote d'Ivoire in West Africa and Ghana, where both of these countries, 70% of the world's cocoa come from there. And if you work through these fields and you actually see how much work and how much effort is put into growing a bean that actually makes it into a chocolate product, it just really creates so much more value. And that was the other challenge here on the other side of the world, to bring that understanding, how your food is actually made and grown and how many people are impacted, and continuously working on raising awareness so that we can balance out the huge inequity that we see in the food system right now.
Yeah, I actually got goosebumps while you were talking about this, and I have a question, and to approach this from a consumer perspective. So when you go to a supermarket and you see a bar of chocolate with the label of a fair trade, what is the information what you should know, and what does it mean for the livelihood of a farmer? So actually the person at the beginning of the supply chain.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's two key things that happen when you buy a fair trade certified product. One is that there's a premium that is fixed for the ingredient that is bought. So thinking about cocoa, there's some market price, but no matter what the price is, they always get an additional premium that goes into a community development fund. And the farmers collectively grouped in a community decide how to invest that premium to increase their livelihoods and their community lives. So they can invest it into a water well, they can invest it into schools, they can invest it into infrastructure, but it's really their own decision making. So it's not only that you're giving money, but you also give equity and you give empowerment and you create agency, because these farmers can control what to do with it. And the other part, which is something that's in cocoa and in coffee, where prices are really extremely low, there's even a minimum price. So whatever the commodity market does, and it's fluctuating constantly depending on supply and demand, it's just a commodity, right? It's traded. So the price can go extremely low. It can go below the cost of production. So Fairtrade fixed a minimum price that farmers can always rely on no matter what the market does. So these are the two key pricing mechanisms. And then on the other hand, you know that these farmers had to adhere to a very rigorous set of standards on how they produce their beans or their other ingredients on the farm. So every year there's an audit that is checking, are these farmers compliant with the requirements? So it's another factor that can give you trust into the product that you're buying.
Yeah, and can I assume then Fairtrade also gives support for farmers to change their practices to meet these requirements?
Absolutely. Usually they don't meet them in the first round. And that's a good thing. That really means there's progress, because every year these criteria are progressing. You know, we don't want to keep them at the same level. There's actually an incentive to move them up and to improve. So we find, or the auditors go and find whatever needs to be improved, and then the organization works with them to help them on that journey.
Great. And just one more question regarding this. Look at me. I have so many different questions. So that's about the supply and the beginning of the supply chain. So then the company who is producing that bar of chocolate has also other ingredients. So how is the criteria for the companies who actually put that label on their product and is seen by the consumer regulated?
Yeah, absolutely. So there is a seal that is only used if 100% of the product is fair trade certified. So that could be, for example, coffee. You know, there's nothing other, there's just coffee beans. 100% of them also have to be certified. You can't just say, I certify a small part of it. But in the chocolate bar, as you said, there might be, let's say, like an almond sea salt chocolate bar. There's almonds, there's sea salt, there's cacao, there's sugar. 100% of one ingredient that is fair trade certified always has to be certified. So again, with the chocolate bar, 100% of the cacao needs to be certified. And then the sugar, because it's also such a complex and difficult ingredient where there's still a lot of issues in sugarcane farming, also the sugar needs to be certified. But you can always turn the bar around, or you can turn the product around, and it needs to be labeled what is actually certified, and the percentage is also on there. And the minimum requirement is actually 20% to use some seal. So it really matters to look at what is it that's certified here. Is it the coconut? Is it the cacao? And we have to give, and companies have to give that information to consumers.
Yes, thank you so much for explaining. I think people are seeing all these different seals on packaging, and I'm not sure they actually know what they mean. So I think it's a very great added value to understand the complexity of such a process, such a supply chain, and maybe a few people will turn the bar in the supermarket now and read what is exactly written on it.
Yeah.
But back to the livelihood of farmers and farm workers. So there is another project, what was, I can probably say, born on the bootcamp in July, what you have been working on with some other alumni. And without actually spoiling anything further, would you mind telling us about this project a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. And I really have to say that the hackathon was one of the most exciting and amazing experience of the whole bootcamp. It was really kind of the final that we were looking for, and people before that told me, you know, it's really going to change your perspective, and I was somewhat skeptical, but I think going through a bootcamp leading to a hackathon and then working so closely with a team was extremely special, and I would recommend everyone who has the opportunity to do it. I just see that Irina, one of my team members at Utangi, actually just joined. It's amazing. So yeah, in the hackathon, we focused first. Our first initial idea was around how do we reduce food waste, which is such a big issue in the global food system as well, creating both human and environmental impacts, where people are suffering from malnutrition, and on the other hand, we're throwing food away. So we were really coming together looking at this issue of food waste. But what we found is that food waste happens because a critical member on the farm is not recognized and not supported in their work, which is the farm worker. So for us, we specifically focused on India, and we looked at how does even food get wasted, and who's the person who could rescue it and do something with it that would actually benefit their livelihoods. And that's the farm worker, really, who's underprivileged normally, who lives on a very small wage, who doesn't have rights. But by rescuing the surplus food and making it into products that are nutritional and healthy and affordable for people, because it's kind of made out of waste, we saw an opportunity to at the same time empower farm workers and reduce waste. So we're a 5-person team, 3 from India, I'm here in the US, and then we have a team member in Togo, Africa. and we are meeting weekly. We're pushing this idea forward, and we're really still motivated to make this happen.
I remember you guys also had a presentation on the first International Day of Awareness about Food Loss and Waste. And that was the point when we reached where I asked you what are the next steps. And I heard that you already have a space which could be turned into a production facility, basically. So you have already a farm to collaborate with. So what is missing?
Yeah, we have the space. Actually, all the team members that are in India visited the farm last week, and that was so amazing to see the pictures and to see them interact with the farm workers. So we're currently interviewing farm workers to really validate what our assumptions were to build this and see how they can get involved. And what's a critical piece that's missing is funding and is support to really make it happen. And we do have some first funding opportunities that we're preparing a presentation to, and where we're hoping to get the kickstarting funding. But yeah, it's that to really officially found the organization, which also, if you do that internationally in India with international members, there's some requirements that we need to think of. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think it's on the farm. It's really further validating what we're doing. It's finding funders and then kind of structurizing and professionalizing the organization behind it.
I'm super happy to hear this. Oh my God. Well, this is, from my perspective, these boot camps, I must say, I am very happy that I can actually see the journey of people from entering the ecosystem and how it is going along. Obviously, journeys are completely different, but this is one of them what I'm very, very proud of to be able to follow.
Thank you.
So if we look at your bootcamp experience from two perspectives, first of all, the bootcamp was digital, which is this year. I know people start to get sick and tired of sitting in front of their computer, yet, but I always keep saying, I feel a lot of activities became way more inclusive on this way. And I mean, how would you have met your team members, for example? But I would like to understand what were your key learnings from the whole 4-week part-time program, and how did you experience digital tools and the way of digital learning?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to try to switch my camera a little bit because I see the sun ray that comes into me.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Oh, I hope I didn't lose you. Oh, no.
Oh, sorry.
Just yes, you're back. Okay, all good, all good.
Yeah, so definitely we're looking at screens more, but I think it's really so much more about what you're doing when you're staring at when you're interacting with the screen. And through the whole boot camp, you're meeting a group of engaged individuals that are curious, that want to make change in the world, that have a similar value system, yet have such different perspectives from the ones that you have. And I think that's definitely one of the highlights. There's participants from all continents, from different backgrounds. I mean, I came with a fair trade background. There were chefs that had such an interesting perspective of how they deal with food. There were people that were studying food systems that had more of an academic background. And I think having this group of people come together and be able to connect with them and learn from and with them is an amazing opportunity. And it still through a screen, but I felt a deeper connection than just digitally. And I feel like if we can travel again, once we go to these countries, we're going to see each other. You know, we're still in touch. It's really not just a digital thing that's disconnected from real life. And I think the other thing that I really enjoyed were specific design thinking tools that we were trained in the first week, which really helped to look at this wicked problem of food systems and break it down. Because I think one thing that we can find ourselves is we want to change something, we want to do something, but it just seems too big to start. But with the tools that we learned in the boot camp, I'm now able to kind of break a problem down and look at what is the thing that I want to focus on and how do I actually move this forward. And then through the time, we were connected to other experts, professional experts also in the food system, that were sharing how they've done it, to give another motivation and inspiration for how we can all do something. And I really walk away with that inspiration, that a little act that you think is little now can turn into something bigger if you share it out, if you talk to other people, and if you then follow also the design principles that we learned in the boot camp.
Super happy to hear this. So, do you think that because we always say this bootcamp is for everyone, can you like confidently say that this is an educational program which could actually, like, multiple disciplines and backgrounds can benefit from?
Yeah, I asked myself that question in the beginning, and I know how we talked about it, because I felt like in some area I have such a deep knowledge and understanding of empowerment and equality and kind of the social impact of the food system. And I was learning a lot about the environmental impacts in the food systems. But yeah, even people who I think everybody who's interested and curious about this can learn more. There's always an area. They're so big. The areas are so big. So there might be areas where you feel like, oh, I know so about it. So great, contribute, share your experience. And then for another topic, just be open-minded and learn and ask the people that already know the questions. And I found it also so helpful and beneficial that it was across all ages. Because sometimes that I find myself is I'm in my millennial bubble. All my friends, my community around me, they're all millennials. But it's so interesting to talk to somebody who has more experience, who's worked in this field for longer, somebody who's just starting off, who's like, we had our youngest member.
He was 14, yes.
He was 14. And he still was able to contribute so much and learn so much. So I think that's so special about the program too, that there's all different backgrounds and age groups.
Yeah, and I think what I also learned during previous programs with Future Food, that mixing all these different disciplines, cultures, and age groups, it actually trains your empathy as well a lot. Because exactly with the fact what you just said, with the different bubbles where we live in, we tend to assume that how we see the world is actually how everyone else sees the world. And I think these programs are especially good for finally see different perspectives, or maybe even look at your own system, your own work through different lenses. So I repeat this a lot these days. So sorry for jumping on this point right now. So then we are actually approaching a very last question, which is always the same for everyone. I'm very curious about how do you see your food future? And I always tell everyone, please consider no barriers. You can be very utopistic. It's your future. Please tell us, how would that look like?
Yeah. My food future is regenerative. It values everyone who's participating in food, which really is everyone. And I mean, I start from the microbes in the soil that are valued, that do their part, that need to be taken care of in order to further produce the food that makes us who we are and provides us the nutrition. I think about the farmers, about the farm workers, who are not just exploited for their work, but actually they're being given back nutrition, education, and they can see their families thrive. I think about the consumers who love eating, but also love eating nutritional and healthy foods and see food as a way to thrive. And again, regenerative, it's all giving something back if we really treat it that way. Right now, it's so exploitative on so many levels, on the human and on the environmental level. So to kind of break it down, I like to say, I wish food was designed for people and not for profit. And again, that brings me also back to the current situation where, your food votes matter. Every day you go out there and you make a choice of how you want to see your world. But today is election day here. So there you have a big opportunity to also influence what kind of food system you want to see.
Exactly. I really would like to live in your food future. If that's possible, please invite me there.
And I know we're both working towards this one. So.
Yes. So I think you mentioned a very important point in terms of design things for people and also for the planet, which is one of the learnings we also try to focus on. And yes, I think everyone needs to understand that it's not only the farmer, it's not only the consumer, it's also policy making. And in order to have supportive policy making, we have to vote in every possible way with our fork, with our pellets, yes, on every possible way. So Gesina, thank you so much for being with me today. It was a lovely conversation, very insightful. And for those who joined us later, this conversation will be saved on IGTV and later on will be posted on our YouTube channel as well. And join us for the next conversation on Thursday morning. Well, spoiler alert, I will have another Utangi team member on the alumni session. Exactly. And yeah, so thank you, everyone. Don't forget to vote. And thank you, Gesina, for being here today.
Yeah, thank you, Julia. This is great.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.